Hi there, Lorne Risley, host of the Halcyon Show. How you doing? Yeah, I still upload to this channel, very rarely. The truth is, I'm over on Defunct Games more often than not these days doing gaming-related content rather than interpersonal content, reviews on my channel, or indeed my thoughts on anything in the general world. However, during a week where we've seen the ESL proposed and the footballing world lose their collective shit over it, I felt the need to kind of summarise it in a way that I think kind of overrides everything that's being discussed about the pros and cons, the negatives, the tradition, the ownership of fans in football and things of that nature, because it overrides football as a sport, as a concept, because it kind of transcends everything. And I wanted to try and get it fresh in my mind while it was crystallising today, rather than yesterday when I saw a lot of other reactionary videos of people in their bedrooms, unlike me. And the bottom line to it all is this: your opinion as a fan of any of these football clubs, or indeed any of the football clubs affected by these plans, is completely irrelevant, but not for the reasons that you might be thinking that I'm thinking. What do I mean? Well, the general gist, if you're not aware, is the European Super League, which is a league that is comprised, or at least proposed to be comprised of 15 teams that will have permanent membership over the next 20 years, comprised of supposedly the top clubs in Europe, with five members who would gain ownership depending on a qualification process or by selection, presumably by the 15 current members or a committee comprised of a governing body elected by those members. And the idea is that the members of the members of this new ESL would be privy to a £3.5 to £3.7 billion prize pot on an annual basis, which is significantly more than, let's say for the sake of argument, if you won the Premier League and the Champions League, in the richest league in the world and the richest cup competition in the world. If you won both of those, you would earn approximately 250 million. So you can see from a financial perspective why a lot of these clubs would see the benefit of participation. You would also be remiss if you didn't note the fact that none of these clubs can be effectively relegated, which means it's effectively guaranteed income. Now, from a fan's perspective, this kills the game of football dead in its tracks, because it means that a lot of the governing bodies, such as FIFA, the Premier League, and a lot of the other governing bodies, are threatening that they will kick them out of their respective leagues if they go ahead with the plans. And you can understand their position, but here's the crux of the argument between those two, which is it's power versus power. The league sells the rights to its games for an exorbitant amount of money as it stands. FIFA and UEFA are inherently corrupt organisations that have recently put plans forward for a revised Champions League that involve a bigger prize pot, but also spread it more thinly across teams in order to, again, kind of broker more power from their perspective. And I cycle it back to my original point, which is why they don't care about what you think. And here's the cold, hard fact of it all, and this is where the point starts and where I'll finish. The reason the clubs have done it in this way, and people have pointed to the fact that it's American owners specifically that seem to be at the spearhead of this movement, is that they believe in a franchise system. They buy a brand and they sell the brand. The performance of the team at that point is almost irrelevant, because the brand persists. The coolness factor, the wideness factor, how well it's promoted, having figureheads, marketable people within the team that they can then use to improve their social media standing, and then also improve the performances of their businesses that they own in tandem with the sports teams that they often use to cross-promote. And because they see them as brands, they don't necessarily care about the heritage of a club, because the heritage is only built into the brand now. People are making the equivalent argument with this debate about, for instance, Arsenal and Tottenham. For full disclosure, I'm an Arsenal fan. Arsenal and Tottenham have not been competitive in the league in decades. In Tottenham's case, longer than Arsenal, but we're not getting into that now. And European-wise, neither of us have won anything relevant in Europe in decades either. So it stands to reason that you would debate why two clubs of that nature deserve to get in. Same with Manchester City, they've never won a European competition, period. But commercially, those 6 teams are the highest earners in the Premier League, and that's why their brands are worth more in terms of comprising a Super League than anyone else in the Premier League. And herein lies the problem. The reason those brands have inbuilt value is because people, like you, and to an extent me, will buy whatever the brand sells. They prey on the fact that football is tribalistic. They prey on the fact that the footballing fan has an inbuilt religious aspect to their team. It has become their life to a certain degree to follow and support this club. So irrespective of whether or not you believe this is a good thing or a bad thing to play only these teams and to hell with the remaining 600 odd clubs across Europe that would be condemned to the depths of history because of this move, it's irrelevant. Because you'll still buy tickets. And you'll still buy the subscription if they go to a Netflix-style model like some people are proposing. Some people are basically saying that they will move to a monthly or even weekly subscription service whereby you as a fan wouldn't travel to these games. You would just watch them from home for a weekly or monthly subscription fee as opposed to going through other avenues such as Sky or BT Sport. Because then that means the clubs can generate their own and harness their own revenue, distribute it across themselves evenly for a period of no less than 20 years. Cutting out effectively the middleman, making more money because they're banking on you to not ultimately have the outrage sustained across a period of time and to back it up with your wallet. And this is why it's depressing, this situation, because unfortunately there's an inevitability to it either way. And what do I mean by that? Even if the ESL does not come to fruition in its current proposed format, the murmurings now is that the current Champions League and UEFA are trying to pony up money in order to match or surpass the amount of money that they're talking about divvying up between themselves anyway, somewhere in the region of £8 billion, as opposed to the 3.5 to 3.7 that's currently proposed. If that happens, well, the clubs win. They still get more money. It's a vicious cycle. The heritage, the history, your fandom, your semantics about it are irrelevant at this point. And the only way you can affect change across the board, really, is to change your habits when it comes to your interaction with your football club, because it isn't about the man in the terraces anymore. When I was a kid, that was still something that was bandied about as being something really unique to football. But these days, that just isn't the case. And the sooner we come to realising that football, not just within the Premier League, but in Europe, is now a worldwide commodity. They're trying to sell it to people in countries that do not have a vested interest in their own leagues, but have fandoms that stretch across leagues in terms of merchandise sales, in terms of television revenues, and a whole host of other things, including buying into businesses that sponsor the football clubs themselves. The sooner we can get over this fact that we don't own the clubs anymore. We used to. There used to be a time when the supporters' trust, fan ownership, chairmen who were, grew up in the area, purchased into the club for one reason or another, those days are long gone. And the idea that even a significant number of the fans of any of these clubs, let alone the rest of the league, because they're just as culpable, by the way, frankly, in my opinion, that the Champions League is indicative of this, because all clubs prioritise the revenue that comes from television deals to the point where manager sackings are sporadic at the best of times, and a pandemic at the worst of times. Apologies to use the word, but it really is. Sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 managers in a season. That's all down to money as well. So the ESL is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the maximum amount of revenue that you can generate from this kind of action. But frankly, teams have been doing this kind of thing for decades by this point, and fans have let it go by the wayside. So the bottom line to all this is that your opinion really doesn't matter to these clubs one way or the other, because they win. The ESL goes ahead, they set up a Super League of guaranteed revenue over the next 20 years between these 15 teams, and the rest of the clubs are then left to figure it out amongst themselves, but they will, they always do. And if it doesn't go ahead, the Champions League is revamped and everyone gets more money for their participation. Some clubs are given guarantees on entry even if they don't qualify because of a prorated system, which again negates the sporting aspect of football. But again, considering the amount of money in the top 6 clubs already, hence their entry, you can't really say football's competitive anyway. The bottom line is, your opinion doesn't matter unless you vote with your wallets and unless you change your interaction with the brand of your football club, as opposed to engaging the football club with a long dead idea that because your fandom is so important to you, that it is to them. That's my thoughts on the ESL matter. Apologies, it's nothing to do with gaming or anything more profound than football, but unfortunately in a time when people are scratching their heads about Jose Mourinho being sacked a week before a final, when it's clear that there's financial ramifications for keeping him on, winning a cup and then sacking him, as opposed to just sacking him now. Why would you sack someone that's more likely to win a cup than not? These are the times we live in. In any event, thank you very much for checking out this video. My name's been Lon Risley, host of the Halcyon Show. I plan to upload content whenever the hell I like, so I'm not promising any other videos in the future. Please like, share and subscribe. In the meantime though, go and check me out on Defunct Games. In the meantime, I'm usually posting content over there. But before you do any of that, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.